Hello, everyone. Today we are going to look at childhood and aging as we complete the Human Development Unit. Aging is associated with changes in a dynamic biological, physiological, and environmental, psychological, behavior, and social process. Basically, what that means is it's complex. Some age related changes are benign, such as graying hair. Others result in declines in function of the senses and activities of daily life and increased susceptibility and frequency to diseases, uh, disabilities. In fact, advancing age is a major risk factor for a number of chronic diseases in humans. First of all, we need to look at how we measure age. Chronological age basically is comes from the Greek word chrono, all right, which means time. Your chronological age is your age measured in years. This is the amount of time you've been living since you were born. We have no control of this. Basically, everybody ages. The average life expectancy in the US is 77.28 years compared to Japan's 84.62 years. On a side note, people in Indiana live on average of 77 years. Biological age, on the other hand, is something that what I talk about in class is related to this. Basically, biological age is determined by how well various body parts are working. It's basically affected by your diet, exercise, and heredity, among other factors. If you make healthy choices throughout your life, your body will stay healthy for longer. However, physical changes will occur naturally as your body ages, no matter how healthy you are. Things we talk about in class are closely related to this. Again, one of my things is once I retire, 20 years from now, am I still going to be able to do the things that I've used to if I can stay healthy enough and make good choices? The last thing that affects our aging is our social age. And this is measured by your lifestyle and connections you have with others. Social age has to do with activities that society expects you to participate in at certain stages of your life. For example, as a young child, you are expected to grow, learn, and play. As an adult, you will be expected to work and perhaps contribute to your community. Some adults choose to delay entering the workforce or accepting other responsibilities. These people may have a younger social age than adults of similar age. Now, here's an interesting thing because of COVID, where you guys were in lockdown for a while, did that affect your social age? And I think it did, just to the extent I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see in the next few years how you guys adapt for missing that time you were basically away from your friends and did things outside of your home. I always use the word age gracefully. One of the most important things you can do is always to take care of yourself. It is important to start this at a young age. By doing so, you develop good habits that will allow you to not only look younger, but also feel healthier. Here are some things you can do to age gracefully: your physical health, exercise. This decreases your chance of developing illness. Stay mentally active. This means take a break from your phone, read, socialize in person to person, all right, if possible. But take time away from your phone because what happens is if you're always to your phone, that becomes part of you. And I don't necessarily think that is a good thing to go through. It's always good to talk to people and get out and socialize. Volunteer to help you get a better understanding of your values. You learn this by experiencing things. When you see what other people go through, like if you would work at, oh, I don't know, a homeless shelter, that would help you understand maybe you're great. You should be grateful for what you have, but understand it helps you develop empathy for people that maybe are going through a hard time. Set goals, guys. This is probably one of the more important ones. Very, very important is what kind of career do you see yourself in? Where do you want to? What do you want to do 10 years from now? What would be your ideal situation? Your prescription on how you see things will change as you get older. I always use my glasses as I'm seeing things different as a 59, soon to be 60-year-old guy compared to what it was when I was 15 years old. One of the other things you can do is become more independent. Don't always rely on other people to tell you to do things. As you get older, you need to learn how to do things on your own. This will help you in your decision making skills. Now we want to look at the stages of development, things that have to happen in order for a person to go from one stage to the next. The first stage is infancy, and this is basically from birth to one. Children must depend on others to meet their needs. At this time, they need to learn to trust. The next stage is early childhood, and this is 1 to 6. Children are learning to do things on their own, to develop the ability to do things for themselves, becoming a little bit more independent. Middle childhood is 6 to 9. Uh, Children begin to make decisions and to think out and carry out tasks. To develop initiative and the ability to create one's own play is an important task at this stage. Late childhood is 9 to 12. The child explores surroundings and masters more difficult skills. An important task here is to develop interest in performing activities. All right, not be secluded from things, but again, go out and do things with different people. Some of you, your parents probably, when you were younger, had you be involved with play groups. Adolescence, and this is where you are right now. Basically, this is age 12 to 18. An adolescent searches for their own identity. An important stage or important task at this stage is to develop a sense of who you are. Early adulthood is 18 to 40, and some of you will be going into this very, very soon. Basically, a young adult tries to establish close personal relationships, and an important task is to develop intimacy and a strong relationship with another person. A person at this stage will also start a career, most likely start a family, all right, settle down and maybe a certain part of the country and move away. But basically, start a family is an area, this is an area that in young adulthood people will choose to do. Middle adulthood is 40 to 65. The adults focus on accomplishments in the workplace and is concerned with the well being of others. Again, sometimes people at this stage will have like midlife crisis, and that's basically to develop a sense of having contributed to society. People will take a close look at what they're doing and maybe decide this they need to do something a little bit different. Late adulthood is 65 and older, and believe it or not, I'm going to be in this stage in 5 years. A person at this stage reflects on and tries to understand the meaning of one's own life. A task here is to develop a sense of satisfaction with one's life. The last part of the stages of life we want to look at, and it's not a particularly, maybe this is going to be a sensitive issue that people, when they think about, go through. When I was younger, I was scared to die. And so when I designed this particular lesson, I did it with the thought, how could I comfort my students in understanding the process of death and dying? So, one of the hardest emotional things to talk about in class is death. Death is part of a natural cycle that all living things go through. No amount of fame, money, or love prevents death. As strange as it sounds, dying is part of living. Still, it's never easy to face death, whether one's own or that of a loved one. However, understanding the process and learning some strategies for coping can help. Disney has done a really good job of addressing this in their movies. In particular, Bambi and The Lion King. In Bambi, Bambi's mother was shot by a hunter, and they did it in a way that it wasn't graphic, but what it implied, and it showed the emotions involved. And then The Lion King, where the headline was basically killed by wildebeest, and it shows what his cub had to go through. So we want to look at the stages of death. The first stage is denial. We want to believe that nothing bad can happen to us. So we want to even believe we are immortal. Disbelief is what disbelieving what the doctor is telling the person, and they seek out a second and third opinion. They will also say that this really can't be happening to me. The next stage is anger. As a person accepts the reality of a terminal diagnosis, they may start to ask, why me? The realization that all of their hope, dreams, and well laid plans aren't going to come about brings anger and frustration. As we go through this, understand that each person goes through each stage, maybe at different lengths and so forth. So, a person that is maybe a little bit older will go through the stages a little bit faster, whereas a person that's maybe younger that has a very terminal illness will go through, let's say, denial at a much longer rate than, let's say, somebody that's maybe a little bit older. Bargaining. A person may agree to live a good life, help the needy, never lie again, or doing a number of other good things if this higher power will only cure them of their illness. The next stage is depression. It becomes clear that the terminal illness is here to stay. Many people experience depression. The increased burden of strategies, treatments, and physical symptoms of illness, for example, make it difficult for someone or some people to remain angry or to force a stoic smile. Depression, in turn, may creep in. The last stage is acceptance. The stage of acceptance is where most people would like to be when they die. It is a stage of peaceful resolution that death will occur and expectation of its arrival is clear. If a person is lucky enough to reach this stage, death is often very peaceful. On a final note, grieving after death, how do loved ones and friends deal with the death to somebody they know? Dealing with your grief after a loved one has died is not easy. It may be even more difficult if the death is sudden. For example, if a loved one dies in a car crash. After the death of a loved one, it is important not to deny your feelings. However, don't become so overwhelmed with emotions that you forget to take care of yourself and your loved ones. Also, don't forget to help people that are grieving. Spend time with them and do errands to help them. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the show, and hopefully this lesson puts death at ease and makes it feel a little bit, or you're able to understand it a little bit better.